in. How was Outside Lands?
It was tremendous.
Nice. Who'd you see?
Grand old time. Kicked it off with a Vampire Weekend. Then they had an opening and closing set. And then this guy named Bakar was on the main stage, along with a few others. I don't know. It wasn't so much about the artists or the lineup, Derek. It was about the experience. It was about the ambiance that was Golden Gate Park in San Francisco.
Basically, you were saying that it was about, the right to brag that you were there.
No, it was a good. There's no bragging in it. People enjoy that stuff, Derek. It's crazy to think that people could enjoy things outside of sports, huh?
Hey, man, back in the day, I was all about going to concerts. When I lived in Austin, which, is debatable as far as like the number one concert place in the country. You could say that or Nashville. I used to go to Austin City Limits all the time. ACL was a huge, concert festival every year in October, although it would always line up with football, and I would have to make a strong decision about if the slate was better than the lineup that weekend. But when Red Hot Chili Peppers were in town, I had to go see that. And sometimes if I didn't even love the band that much, I would just go for the experience. I saw, who was it? Arcade Fire and the Flaming Lips, Norah Jones, the Eagles. So yeah, I'm all about festivals, but I will say, as I get older, I'm more out of touch with music. So when I looked up this year's lineup, there was a handful of people that I knew. Maybe there's a Doce and Doja Cat. That's about it for your boy. But then I do know Vampire Weekend, and really I wouldn't know any of their songs by name. But if you played some of their music, I would say, oh, that's from I Love You, Man.
Yeah. I will concede that the lineup was kind of weak this year, but I haven't been in a while, so we wanted to go.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you're always big into concerts. You're a big music guy.
I like music. I enjoy it.
Have you checked out that? I need to get on it. There's a few documentaries that are out right now that I need to see. There's the Billy Joel doc that I hear is really good. You watched it at all?
I haven't watched any of that yet.
And then there's the Paul Rubens Pee Wee Herman doc. I think both are on HBO Max right now. People say it's really good.
I heard you talking about both of them on the air on KMBR.
Well, I was ranking the interest level between Pee Wee Herman, Billy Joel, and Jerry Jones.
I thought Copes had the right response to that.
What do you say?
What the hell do you mean rank them? What do you mean? What do you mean rank them?
As far as interest level.
Yeah.
I mean, would you say one of the biggest things with streaming now is not so much, I think, television shows or movies, it's documentaries. Like when we had Tom on, he was talking about all the documentaries he watches, usually war stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's watching. I haven't seen it yet. I hear it's really good. The Osama bin Laden documentary on Netflix.
Yeah.
Need to get on that. Everyone wants to know about his past, I guess, along with Billy Joel and Pee Wee Herman.
Not so much. It's not a documentary about Osama bin Laden.
I know. I'm joking.
Osama bin Laden.
No, I know, but let's talk about Osama bin Laden's upbringing. How he was misunderstood.
It's not. Yeah. We should treat it that way. We should.
Okay. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We're coming to you on a Sunday morning, and we're talking preseason football and all the overreactions you can have from 1 week of subpar football. Let's just get right into it. Raiders drafting Ashton Genty, 5th overall. Huge bust.
Already done, huh?
Yeah, I think so. 3 carries, -1 yards, or 1 yard.
Yeah.
How can you build a team around that?
Yeah, I know. They're screwed. Future's
absolutely
done.
Screwed. Now, I was watching that a little bit, and I'm saying this by also prefacing that, I watch these preseason games, but they're on the background. Yesterday, the chat will know. I went over to my dad's place, see how he was doing, watched the Niner game with him, and I was watching that intently. But as far as everything otherwise with preseason, and it's on the background, I see the first couple of plays, and then I move on. But with the Raiders, my takeaways, they tied the Seahawks, and thank God for ties in the preseason. Otherwise, I'm not a fan of ties, and everyone knows that by now. But Ashton Genty, 3 carries, didn't get a lot of blocking, weird formations of, out of the shotgun, and right away the, linebacker, blitzing right to get him. So I'm not putting a lot of stock into that. I will say Aiden O'Connell, what did he finish? 18 of
Yeah.
30 for 208 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Not so good the first half, better in the second half. I wouldn't put it past the Raiders if potentially they could get another backup quarterback. And I think maybe, this is not the same regime that drafted Aiden O'Connell. That was Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. We'll see what John Spytek thinks of him and Pete Carroll. But I wouldn't be the least bit surprised with how much quarterback turnover we'll have in the preseason. Thinking about the Browns and their situation, I don't think Kenny Pickett's making the team. You got to have Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders probably on that roster to see what you have in them, really, to get a good gauge on that. So I was the least bit surprised if Aiden O'Connell is not the backup quarterback for the Raiders this season.
Yeah, man. That was my big takeaway from the game more than anything else. Well, I guess Jamal Adams being a linebacker, I guess that's something that might be, worth monitoring moving forward. But I'm just like over the Aiden O'Connell thing, man. I mean, it's just we know what he is at this point. He's, sometimes calm, cool, collected in the pocket, but most times when he gets flushed out of the pocket, then he ends up losing any of that composure and just kind of plays with this, I don't want to say recklessly, but timid almost, where it's like he's almost unsure of himself. So I don't know. It's been we're going on year 3 with this.
Yeah.
Kind of over the whole Aiden O'Connell experiment. And I'd be interested in seeing a little more Cam Miller moving forward, the 6th round pick out of North Dakota State, who I think led them on like the drive that potentially could have won the game, and then, ended up getting blocked because it's the preseason. So I don't know. I guess that was it, really. It's just, I'd like to see more Cam Miller. I'd be interested in that over seeing Aiden O'Connell for the rest of the preseason, honestly. But we're going to, because you have to play the backups, and this is just seeing who can make the team. And these are the dog days of August in NFL football, because by the time Geno Smith and Ashton Genty and the remaining starters were all taken out after that first possession, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for the regular season now. I want to see these guys play, full 4 quarters. I'm done with this. Yeah, let's play them for a drive, take them out, get them the experience, get them to line up. I'm over it already.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of over Aiden O'Connell from the get-go. Like, I remember when he was drafted, Alon and Aram, 2 of our Raider friends, and Alon on this podcast quite a bit, filling in for Steven, was like, I didn't like him at Purdue at all. Like, he's kind of a statue and doesn't have a lot of mobility. And I would say the 2 seasons I've seen of him, I never had a lot of hope that he was the future of the team. I don't think anybody thought that. But then there were some people that were like, maybe he could be the Brock Purdy of this team. But no. Like, even, like everyone always tweets out, he's the last quarterback to beat Patrick Mahomes at Arrowhead. And I'm like, but he threw for 58 yards and didn't complete a pass in the second half.
Still funny.
Yeah, it's funny. But in the mustache, everybody compared him to Favre from Super Troopers. So I don't really see what the Raiders can get out of him. Like, I think that you could get any backup quarterback. Like, if Kenny Pickett is going to be cut by the Browns, I would go after him. Even the guy that you just mentioned, Cam Miller, who they drafted this season, I think Aiden O'Connell will be fine for like backing up Cam Ward, because I believe Dave Ziegler is a consultant now with the Titans. So I don't mean that's like the least of anyone's concerns with the Raiders. His backup quarterback. That's just like the thing that was the most telling to me in that game. Like, Ashton Genty will get more reps in the preseason. I'm sure of that. I think Geno Smith, with Pete Carroll's MO in the preseason, is probably going to play either next week or week 3 of the preseason. So we'll see a little more of Geno. But the biggest takeaway to me was Aiden O'Connell may not be the backup quarterback for the Raiders this season.
We'll see him next week. We'll see more of the starters next week. I mean, it's so boring though. Like, a Chip Kelly offense is going to try to make it as complicated as much as possible on the defense, whether it's throwing in motions, disguising certain plays. There wasn't any of that in this first preseason game, and I don't think there's going to be any of that in this second preseason game. Just keeping it basic, keeping it fundamental, just trying to get them used to lining up with each other in a stadium against a team as if it's the regular season, even though it doesn't count. So I don't know. Well, I hope we'll see him for a little bit. I'd like to see that offense in there for at least the first quarter next week, just to see how it looks. Can't feel good about not getting any push from the offensive line and, finishing with fans having more rushing yards that day than Ashton Genty.
Yeah.
So it's like, damn, I don't know. This whole thing, man, preseason. I don't know. I don't know how to evaluate it. We've been doing this now for like 3 years, Derek, whatever it's been, maybe 4. I still don't know how to evaluate the preseason. I really don't.
I don't think anybody really does. I think that, and I'll say this too, I don't think anybody knows how to evaluate like practice either from a media perspective. I'll get into that a little bit more as I went to Niner practice on Thursday. But just as far as finishing up with the Raider talk, Pete was asked, like, how was it going back to Seattle? And he was like, not that big of a deal. And honestly, like, when you have, like, these preseason matchups, like, kind of interesting that Pete's first game as Raiders head coach is in his own stomping grounds against the Seahawks. But, like, if this was a regular season game, it'd be huge. But just the fact that, nothing to play for, you're evaluating your team, this meant nothing. Like, Pete just going around and saying what's up to guys he knows on that side of the field. But anyone that was like, "Ooh, Pete Carroll going back to Seattle," preseason week 1, didn't mean anything. It's more about building up the team for this season.
Yeah, and the first thing that he sees walking out the tunnel is Geno Smith flipping the double birds to some random Birds fan.
Yeah, so I saw that, and the sign said, "Who's a bigger bust, Geno or Jamarcus Russell?" And I'm like, that's stupid. Like, and I'm, me, like, I'm all for. I think some athletes are a little soft when it comes to fan interaction these days, but that's just a dumb sign. Like, you're just making that comparison because both guys played for the Raiders. Jamarcus Russell was expected to be this great quarterback. He was first overall, whatever he did in LSU, and everybody expected him to be the next great quarterback. He was paid as such, which was ridiculous, him holding out and whatnot, but he didn't live up to expectations. Geno Smith, I guess, was expected to go in the first round and then fell to the second round. But then we kind of figured out his career. Like, he played a little bit with the Jets, and then it was clear he wasn't a starter. Backed up Eli Manning, backed up Russell Wilson, backed up Phillip Rivers, and then got his opportunity once Russell Wilson went to Denver. So to say like he was a bust, no, I think that if anything, Geno Smith was a journeyman, and really Jamarcus Russell was out of the league so quickly from 2007 to 2010, just like that. So it's a dumb comparison. But I do like Geno Smith not holding back and just flipping the birds to his former fan base. He'll probably get fined for that. But then Max Crosby has his back, flipping off the Seattle crowd as well. So I didn't mind it. I like that.
I think they've already been fined for it.
Have they?
I'm pretty sure both him and Max. Oh no, maybe not yet.
That's probably happening Monday.
Yeah. Oh shit! I searched up Raiders fines, and then one of the posts is Derek Carr getting fined $14,000 for doing a little Michael Jackson move in the end zone, celebrating a touchdown.
He didn't grab his crotch though, did he?
Yeah, he did.
He did?
Yeah.
When did Derek do that?
I don't know, just to celebrate, man. He just felt like he was in that jeans commercial, or the commercial again where he's wearing the jeans jacket again, got carried away.
Well, we all know Derek Carr has great genes.
Great jeans.
Blue
great
eyes
jeans
and everything.
Can you imagine the outrage?
Yes, I can at this point, because it's, people are, I'm sorry. Like, I know I sound like an old curmudgeon on this podcast sometimes. People are soft. They're all soft.
Yeah.
And Rockeneer is asking me, Derek wearing a Niner shirt? Nope, not at all. This is a Ralph Wiggum shirt that says I dress myself, and clearly he doesn't know how to dress himself.
Man, you've had that shirt for a long time, haven't you?
I've had the shirt for a long time. I don't really throw out shirts. I don't.
Yeah, you're not big on that, huh? You do not strike me as the type that likes to throw out shirts.
If I still fit in them, then why would I throw them away?
Because they're fading, and kind of, you could tell they're old, and at some point it's, hey, let's freshen up a bit. Let's get yourself some new apparel.
Yeah, but if I can still pull it off, then what's the harm?
Yeah, it's a good point. I actually wore this shirt. I've had this one for years now.
Yeah, man.
And I don't wear it in public because I've gained quite a bit of weight since then, and I look like a toddler who's a little bigger but trying on like an extra small, and so like my stomach hangs out at the bottom. It's gross. It's like Mr. Incredible when he stretches. Oh,
Yeah. No, I got
yeah,
you.
my stomach's there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like, obviously, like when I'm at work, like I'll wear like new clothes I have, but if I'm just laying, like, lounging around the house, I got like an old like shirt that I can still rock that's was given to me in high school, I'll pull that off.
Yeah, I think that's a thing with a lot of people too. It's like I saw something on, I think it was Twitter, and it's just one of those random kind of shit posts that are trying to farm for engagement. But it was just, why can't men ever throw away their old shirts or their old clothes? And it's just something about them.
Yeah, man.
Something about them where you can't let go.
I think women have that too. Like women have like, some clothes that they just like to
Yeah.
lounge around in and they're not gonna throw that away.
I mean, I think if you were to take just the sample size of men versus women who
It's
actually
definitely more
keep their
men.
clothes for a long, it's definitely more men.
No, I
Like
get it.
per capita, men keep their clothing
Right.
per gender capita, men keep their clothing much longer than women per gender capita.
Yeah, no doubt, because men have a harder time with change than women do. No,
We do.
100%. I can speak truthfully on that.
Yeah.
But like I know a lot of girls that like still have shirts that they rock back in high school. They just wear them when they go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I'm not saying it's just a small, maybe there's a lot, but I think just as far as like if you took 25 males and
Yeah,
25 females, you probably have 24 who have had a shirt that's at least a decade old.
yeah,
Whereas if you took 25 women, I mean, you'd probably get, I don't know, 12, 13, maybe half.
yeah. No, definitely, it's a shorter
Maybe I'm wrong.
amount or a
Maybe
lesser
I'm
amount.
wrong on that one. This is based on no. This is based on no reasoning, no receipts, nothing like that. I really don't know what I'm basing this on, but it's just a guess.
No, I mean you're not wrong. I would also say like it's not just shirts with me though. I have like I'm terrible about this, but like holy shorts or
Yeah,
socks or even underwear. Yeah, nothing worse even than a woman like looking at your underwear and being like, "There's holes in this, and you wear this."
I've had that happen.
Yep.
I've had that happen for sure. Maybe we should do the engagement farming thing. Maybe we should go to the Just Your Opinion Man, X account, then post a poll, and then say at the end, like your RG3, that you're just asking questions. Just
Yeah.
asking questions.
This
This
is
is a safe space.
safe space. Yep. No
Just
judgment. No
do
judgment.
you, in all caps, do you, whether you're a male or a female, all caps, do you keep your clothes for longer than 10 years? Then just put it in a poll.
Yeah. Well, we'll ask the one woman that's in this chat, Lauren, when she pops in.
Yeah.
Um,
The one thing
move it.
Jesse told me before the program, I'm big on that, by the way. I've heard that's a popular thing on the Any Given Saturday Netflix doc, the one about the SEC.
I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah, there's trailers and program. Everyone says program, and that's a big Pat McAfee thing too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You know what's one of my biggest pet peeves in all of sports is I think I've said this before when people refer to professional teams as programs. They're not programs. That's like for college. They're franchises. I
college
don't
is
know.
a program,
That's what I'm saying. Colleges are definitely programs.
right?
Like when you say like, oh yeah, like like I'm listening to Chris Long. He's like, I think what the Steelers got this year, they have a good program, and I'm like, they're not a program. The Steelers are not a program. The Steelers are a fucking franchise.
Listen, dude, if you want to call out an ex, was Chris Long ever a Pro Bowler? Is he ever that? I mean, he was a solid player, but I don't know if he has
Hey,
like the
look, I have a lot of respect for Chris Long.
yeah, or else you're going to end up like Gilly the Kid and Cam Newton, and you're just going to have a whole bunch of former NFL players coming down your road because who the hell are you?
No, believe me, I get it. But are you in agreement with me though? Like it just sounds a little weird when you refer to an NFL team as a program.
Yes, yes, but I grew even more frustrated when, say, like Chris Mad Dog Russo was calling soccer teams franchises. They're not
clubs.
franchises.
Clubs.
International teams specifically. They're not franchises. They're clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I mean,
I do
terminology.
agree.
Yeah, no, I get it. You gotta have the right terminology. Like when I'm like, my dad will always say, like, if you refer to a basketball arena
Hang on.
as a stadium, he'll always be like, it's arena, Derek. It's an arena. They don't play in a stadium. It's an arena.
Hang on.
Yeah.
You know, I'd defend you. Now, I'll defend you to the ends of the earth, Derek, against any other podcaster.
Will you know?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
And I'd like to defend you on this, but
yeah,
was it possible that you just weren't listening intently and he was talking about the Steelers' actual offseason program, not the actual franchise itself?
No, he was referring to the team as a program.
You know what? I think the jury's still out on that one, Derek.
Well, you're questioning my listening skills?
I am. Not so much your listening skills. I'm questioning your retention. Yes.
Wow. That's even more hurtful. No, but he's, like Pat McAfee does that. Yeah, no, Chris, I have a lot of respect for Chris Long. That's why I listen to his podcast. The Green Light podcast is a great listen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it just annoys me whenever even, if NFL players refer to their teams as programs, I'm like, that's kind of weird to me. Mm-hmm. Even coaches do that.
Getting back to what the original point was, though, before we got into this whole thing. Well, before this program, this show, I was going to say that Jessie would join the chat, but she's not in the chat today, probably not listening because she knows it's preseason. And then she looks at me and then she goes, she's like, hey, keep it short and sweet. It's the preseason. No one gives a shit. She's like, Derek's the only one.
No. Sorry, Jesse, you're wrong on that one. I am not the only one because I don't even care that much about preseason. But it's something like there's nothing going on right now. I love Jesse sounding like a program director. No one gives a shit.
You got to be out at this certain time. You got to be out so you can get to break.
Exactly. Just real quick on the Niners. So I went to practice on Thursday. Yeah. Saw Guy Haberman. And let me just say before anything with the preseason game, very happy that Guy Haberman's filling in for my pops for the preseason and probably for the regular season as well. Really good catching up with him, watch practice with him. And yeah, I thought he nailed it yesterday, him and Tim Ryan. It was fun. But just watching practice, I looked at Michael Williams because they were doing the one-on-one drills when it came to the Niners defensive line versus the Broncos offensive line. Saw him against Garrett Bowles and Quinn Myers, Mike McGlinchey, and Michael Williams was impressive. Nick Bosa obviously was impressive too. CJ West, Alfred Collins. But as far as the scrimmaging between the 49ers and the Broncos, it was clear the Broncos defense was flying around and looking fantastic. They might have the best secondary in all of football with Surtain and Talanoa Hufanga now just roaming sideline to sideline. Their front seven was busting through the Niners offensive line with ease. Trent Williams didn't practice. He was pretty much chopping it up with Dre Greenlaw the whole time and wasn't practicing either. But yeah, then, when they did the red zone drills, Brock Purdy had a little bit more time to throw, but initially it was DJ Jones just getting through that Niner offensive line. And yeah, as far as the game, then we saw Michael Williams during practice, non-contact injury, got up gingerly, walked off the practice field, and he's got a hyperextended knee. I think we'll get more details tomorrow from Kyle Shanahan, but he didn't play in this game. Upton Stout didn't play in this game. I was hoping to see a little bit more of him, but he's dealing with a calf injury. And Jordan James, the fifth-round running back from Oregon, broke his finger in that practice as well, so he didn't play.
Yeah,
which is not good because of their running back depth. Christian McCaffrey obviously is not going to play in the preseason. Isaac Guerrero is dealing with a shoulder right now, so they picked up Amir Abdullah, who played yesterday, but fumbled and got injured, so we'll see about him going forward. Patrick Taylor in the mix, Corey Kiner, undrafted rookie. I guess the biggest takeaway for me in the game yesterday was Jordan Watkins, I think, has the inside track to probably be the wide receiver 3 come opening weekend. If everything goes right and it's Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, hopefully Jordan Watkins will be your wide receiver 3. Just his ability, and he looked great in practice too, on Thursday. I think Mike Jones threw him a bomb in that practice, and kind of the same deal with the first possession yesterday on Saturday, where he threw a 50-yard pass to Jordan Watkins. But then after that, I thought Tim Ryan was right, saying that he really didn't do a lot to get open, and on the interceptions wasn't helping out his quarterbacks that much. Chase Lucas, the cornerback for the 49ers, was probably the most impressive player on the field, with the corner blitz he had on the safety and the PBU he had over the middle that was intended for Troy Franklin. I was hoping to see more from CJ West and Alfred Collins, given the injuries to Calais Davis and Jordan Givens. Or is it Jordan Givens, the defensive tackle?
Yep.
Jordan Givens.
Kevin Givens, sorry,
Kevin Givens. Both guys have injuries right now, so I was hoping to see CJ West and Alfred Collins kind of, impress a little bit, but not the case yesterday. Nick Martin really didn't do a lot either. So I would say kind of an overall, it's the first preseason game, but if you're expecting to see standouts from the defensive side of the football, not so much yet from the 49ers.
Well, I mean, Sebastian Valdez, right? That was the one guy I saw numerous people, and watching in the highlights too. He had a couple where he obviously got to the quarterback. I think he had like a sack and also a pressure there, but he he looked impressive. Again, like, I don't know how to evaluate this, man. They keep on, they play well. They make a couple of splash plays, and then we think they are, either a steal in the draft or going to be, an all-pro in the future, when in reality, like, again, we don't know the competition that they're playing. So do want to take it with like a few grains of salt, not just one, maybe even a whole jar of salt. Does salt come in jars? I guess you could say it comes in jars.
No.
Boxes?
Some boxes, some little like canister?
Canisters? Canister's a good one. Yeah. So I take it with a little tiny canister of salt with every preseason performance. Look, I don't know with I think the biggest question mark to me, though, among the guys that you mentioned, it's not so much Nick Martin. I don't think Nick Martin's going to be starting too much. He's going to be playing like I think kind of a Azeez Al-Shaair role when Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw were humming, where you'd see him every now and then in certain packages, but you weren't seeing him every snap. Because it looks like D. Winters has that spot pretty solidified. At least that's the way that the 49ers are talking about him. It sounds like he's going to be starting alongside Warner.
Yeah, definitely.
So Nick Martin, not really, even though he had a pretty poor game by all accounts. That's not the guy I'm really focused on. It's more Alfred Collins. I got big question marks about him. Like, just from the start of the preseason, it seems like he was off to a, shall I say, underwhelming start, where it looked like there's a lot of catching up that he had to do. And he's huge. He's massive. He's a big boy, but can he help get to the quarterback? How effective is he going to be in the run game? I think there's a lot of questions with him more than the others, just because of what they spent on him, a second-round pick, and obviously took a while to get his deal done.
Yeah, and it was almost fully guaranteed. But I watched him at Texas, and I was expecting him to break out a little bit more. But I guess the most impressive defensive tackle in yesterday's game was Calais Davis, just getting the sack. But yeah, if CJ West is already, kind of got a leg up on you in training camp, and he's a 4th-round pick, and Alfred Collins is a 2nd-round pick, not alarming, but like kind of worrisome a little bit. But
it's not alarming. It's just more like it's
disappointing.
I guess it's pretty clear that CJ West is dominating one-on-ones, and he's flashing in training camp, and you kind of want to see it. With Alfred Collins, there hasn't been at any point where you're like, oh, this is going to turn around. You see it frequently with defensive linemen across the league. It's not just, with the 49ers, but you can take a couple like Javon Kinlaw, for example, who would make a couple of splash plays, but really couldn't do it consistently. I don't know. Here I am talking about dudes that are like 6'7", 350 pounds, and would eat me for lunch. You know what I mean?
No.
I feel weird criticizing these guys. Be like, hey, there's question marks around whether this guy's an NFL player, but I think there are.
No, there definitely are, and that's just part of the game. Like, it's funny watching all of the media people on the sideline be like, well, that's, what the hell's he doing there? And you're like, do you really know what he was supposed to do there? Like, I think it's always funny. Like, I was talking to a guy after the practice, and I think actually Copes asked this, and he was like, "What do you really look for when you're watching practice?" And he was like, "I think everybody thinks they know what they're looking for, but then no one really knows. Like even Kyle has to say, like, I have to go back and watch the tape actually to see what we did out there.
Right.
So no one really knows. I think the only thing that the only people that really know are the coaches. They know what the assignments are. They know what they're looking for, and that's why preseason's, so kind of crazy to me because it's not really for us. Like the way that we react to it as fans, kind of ridiculous. And yes, like it's put on as a spectacle because fans attend and they get priced like it's actually a regular season game, which I find ridiculous. But yeah, it's
well, as far as the stuff, Derek, that's for the teams rather than for us, the NFL's done a masterful job at making us care about the draft, right? You bring in a guy like Mel Kiper, you get people watching college tape, you make people care about it. The NFL, and I don't think there's anything they could do, making a product that's for the team, that is for the purpose of finalizing a roster and putting a team together. It has not translated into the for the fans thing. Like, honestly, man, they're never going to do this. I wouldn't even care if preseason games weren't televised. I'm almost at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, but there was a, you know what? I will say this. There's a few standout performances yesterday. I'm sure we could get to it. I mean, it's really the rookie quarterbacks. That's what preseason week 1 was all about. I mean, unless you got anything else. But so I guess for that reason, there's some value in watching it there. But even still, you're like, it's the preseason. Again, these guys are doing what they should be doing in the preseason.
Yeah, like we'll finish that conversation about just the importance of preseason, but just finishing up the Niners.
Yeah.
It's clear to me that a year ago, they were going to have Josh Dobbs and Brandon Allen as backup quarterbacks on the roster. I guess Mordecai, what's his name? Tanner Mordecai was a practice squad player.
Yeah.
I think that given the injuries with running backs and the uncertainty of who's going to be available wide receiver wise week 1, DeMarcus Robinson with his suspension probably, and Jacob Cowing with his hamstring injury, they're probably going to keep more than 6 wide receivers. So my anticipation is that only Brock Purdy and Mac Jones are going to be on the roster as far as quarterback. They're only going to carry 2 quarterbacks because it just makes sense with all the other, question marks on the team, and also the play of Carter Bradley and Tanner Mordecai yesterday. Oof. A lot to be desired there. And I don't like the whole, Carter Bradley's only got a roster spot because of his dad, Gus Bradley. Like, no, Carter Bradley was on the Raiders a year ago. But yeah, he's a camp arm.
Okay, but you can't tell me that the 49ers took at least a chance at him because, hey, his dad's here. Like, we can.
But you do need quarterbacks in training camp.
Sure. Yeah,
so it's not like it's not like he's just there because Gus is doing his son a solid. They do need another quarterback.
Right. You need someone for the threes to work out with.
Exactly. And who was it? Keith O'Rourke? O'Rourke is
Curtis Rourke.
Yeah, Curtis Rourke is the guy that they drafted, I think, in what was it, the 6th round, 7th round, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He'll be on IR for all the rest of the season.
I like how you immediately go to O'Rourke.
Yeah, who am I thinking of?
I don't know, but
is that
O'Rourke?
Is that just a common Irish name, O'Rourke?
I guess so. Yeah. I can't think of anyone O'Rourke, but
yeah,
for whatever reason it's in your head. I like it.
Carter Bradley and Tanner Mordecai are probably not going to make this team. I do think it's just going to be Mac Jones and obviously Brock Purdy as your quarterbacks.
Well, I mean, they could keep an emergency third one on the roster, right?
They could, but like I said, just given everything else with the injuries to running back and wide receiver, I would say it's probably beneficial to add a roster spot to those positions than have an emergency third string quarterback where you could just call somebody up from the practice squad.
Well, yeah, but the emergency third stringer the emergency quarterback doesn't take up a roster spot, right?
He does, yes.
Oh, I thought they changed the rules last year.
On game day, on game day, he's still part of your 53-man roster. It's just on Sundays he'll dress. What's the whole thing? He has to, like, the quarterback has to not come back in the game, the first stringer, and
Mhm.
it still counts against the roster or for a roster spot, Steven. I believe
Okay.
that's the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, as far as the preseason, do we need it? The quick answer is yes. Like, do we need it as fans? Sure, if you want to evaluate your team and, people want to see Shedeur Sanders play and the rookies to get acclimated to, like, game live football. Yeah. But, like, as far as like an entertainment standpoint, no. Like, if you're like, I love it every year. What's like this time of year when the Hall of Fame game happens and people are like, we get a football game from now until February. And I'm like, yes, we do. But it's not real football. Like, you could say that once we get to week 0 of college football, but to act like the preseason is this, oh my God, it's back. It's not back. It's the same thing. We turn it on for 5 minutes and we're like, all right, yeah, I see the uniforms. Okay, here we go. This is not that good.
Right.
And it's not for us. That's the bottom line. Like, they're going to use, like, everything is used as a television. Like, it's stupid to, like, relate this to the draft or the combine or even like training camp practices being televised, because preseason games have always been on TV. But to act like it's this thing of like, oh, fans get to watch, the Niners or the Raiders. It's not really about that. It's just about the coaches evaluating the roster. So, like,
tryouts.
For the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan's been honest and been like, I actually don't value the preseason that much. I value these joint practices and practice a hell of a lot more than a meaningless game where we're not going to throw everything at the quarterback. Like, we were seeing a lot more in the joint practices as far as what Brock Purdy was doing against the Denver Broncos defense than whatever we saw in that preseason game. Like, they were having, I think Ricky Pearsall actually is going to be used like Debo this season on end arounds or jet sweeps, orbit motion, stuff like that. They were doing that against the Broncos defense. You're not going to see that in a preseason game because Kyle doesn't want to show his hand. When the PR staff or whoever tells the media, don't take video of this right now because Kyle knows I can open this up now and then we'll have film on this. And Sean Payton's not going to, tell the rest of the world, hey, this is what I saw in this practice. Now, reporters will, report that, but they can't relay exactly what happened in the play itself. So Kyle doesn't really see a benefit to preseason. Sean McVay doesn't see a benefit to preseason as far as the games. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo is a backup quarterback, but yesterday it was Sterling Bennett playing the majority of the game because, even though Matthew Stafford, I guess, is going to practice on Monday, he had the herniated disc in his back and did like a little practice before yesterday's game. He didn't want to risk things. Jimmy Garoppolo could be your week 1 starter, so he's keeping him out of the game. Meanwhile, Andy Reid always plays his guys, always puts Patrick Mahomes in, the preseason games. Doesn't like to do joint practice because he doesn't want another team to come in and see what he's running. For the first time in a long time, or maybe ever even, Zach Taylor played Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in a preseason game because they've started so slow in September that they wanted them to, actually come out and win week 1 and not come out slow and have to catch up to the Ravens all season long. So it's just a matter of how coaches see it. More new coaches don't want to play their guys. Pete Carroll has always played his starters in the preseason. As I said, same with Andy Reid. Matt LaFleur did it yesterday with Jordan Love. But yeah, I think that it's a mixed thing. But at the same time, like, for fans, don't complain about it. Like, I saw so many people on Twitter yesterday be like, well, that was 4 hours of my life I'm not going to get back. Because it's not for you. It's not for you. It's for the players. It's for the coaches. And if you happen to work in media, then you have to watch it to know what you're talking about on Monday. But as far as like entertainment value, please, it's not about that.
Whew, that was a lot.
Sorry.
You just ranted.
I did.
Trent Sherfield could be in the preseason Hall of Fame.
He was the receiving end of the Trey area.
Yeah. Just in general, I think. Like, I don't know for any specific team, maybe the 49ers, but Trent Sherfield making plays. How about that?
Yeah.
That's all I got in response to that rant. Yes, preseason sucks. Yes, it does.
You
Yeah,
know, like I don't know if it sucks. It's just like
it does. It sucks to watch. It's sure you can watch these guys, but I just every time I get into the football season, I never think about preseason.
yeah.
Oh man, you remember him in preseason? It was so like I forget about that. Maybe I might remember it first few weeks, but then once you actually get into the season and you have some actual games to evaluate, then yeah, you forget about the preseason at all. You forget about all of it. You just don't
No,
care.
of course, because the regular season matters. The preseason, it could make careers. That's how Derek Carr got to be a starter over Matt Shaw by,
Well, yeah,
not beating, but having a good performance against the Seattle Seahawks. And Pete Carroll played the Legion of Boom that night. He threw a touchdown pass against Richard Sherman.
there is one team, and I'm kind of making us move on here. But there is one team that is reminding me a little bit of the 2014 Raiders, and that is the New York Giants, because they take a quarterback they take a supposedly an all-pro type edge rusher in Abdul Carter, or at least a defensive tackle. They take an all-pro defensive lineman, then take the quarterback in the second round. And it looks like early on, even though it's the preseason, they did dominate. So even though Abdul Carter was in there for like a drive, I think he had like already 2 pressures and I think like 6 pass rushing snaps or whatever it was. So I do think there's some things you can draw from it. And that being one of them, because you just mentioned Derek Carr and that just jogged my memory. Like Jackson Dart looked every bit of a potential first round quarterback that we thought he was going to be out of Ole Miss. Then Abdul Carter is looking as strong as he ever did. I think they could see like a 2014 Raiders type of turnaround where it's like 2016. Oh, you got something, except they might be a little further ahead of schedule because, they're on different paths here. It's the Giants are kind of rebuilding, but they already have their Amari Cooper and Malik Neighbors, who they drafted last year. So they're kind of ahead of the curve, at least compared to the Raiders at that time. But yeah, that was my immediate thought after I saw the Jackson Dart stuff. I was like, he looked good, but it just reminds me of the 2014 Raiders, where it's like we could see him potentially starting, I don't want to say week 1, but you're going to see him beat out possibly a wily veteran so that he can get the starting job. Interesting.
I don't know if they'll beat him out. I think they'll give Russell Wilson the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, I was impressed with Jackson Dart yesterday. Real quick, though, AJ Cruz says, and I guess this pertains to the 49ers, if they need another QB, wouldn't it stand to reason they get a decent QB and not some ex-Raider jabroni? AJ Cruz, what are you looking for in your third-string quarterback? Like, seriously, you're looking for an amazing talent? Come on now.
I don't think that message was pointed talking about the quarterback more than just wanting to take a shot at the Raiders, because AJ does.
Yeah, I think so.
Pretty much every pod. He's not a big Raider guy.
Yeah, I know. But AJ Cruz himself is a big jabroni. Love you, though.
Is that what the J stands for?
What's up?
Is that what the J stands for?
Another jabroni. As far as like the rookie quarterbacks, everyone was talking about Shedeur on Friday night, and he did play well. But I think it's also like the media's way of being like, told you so. Told you so. We said he's going to be good, and he was good. Yeah, he was good, but was he great? No. Like, if you look at it, that first touchdown he threw, that was because there was a muff punt from the Panthers. They got on like the 5-yard line. Right. And there were some plays where I was like, what are you doing, Shedeur? Like the 4th and 2 play where he ran backwards. He has no sense of pressure right now. But did he turn the ball over? No. Did he throw 2 touchdown passes? Yeah, it was solid. And some people were like, why is he starting in this game? Because let's be honest, with the situation the Cleveland Browns have with an overcrowded quarterback room, he could be on the chopping block. Yes, that's very well, that's definitely on the table that Shedeur Sanders could be cut from the Cleveland Browns. That's what happens when you're a 5th-round pick. And I know that's going to be hard for some people, but that definitely is on the table. But I do believe with the situation they're in that most likely Joe Flacco is going to start, and nothing Shedeur Sanders did on Friday is going to make me believe that he's going to overtake him to be the starter week 1. But given the injury to Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel, yeah, I think Shedeur Sanders probably got higher on the pecking order and probably is number 2 behind both of those guys, or ahead of those guys, Dillon Gabriel and Kenny Pickett. And I always thought that Kenny Pickett was probably the odd man out because given the situation for the Browns next season, they traded the second overall pick to move down to get Mason Graham. They could have got Travis Hunter, but they moved down, I think, to 5.
Yeah.
And now they have 2 first-round picks next season. They're probably going to have to evaluate everything when it comes to the quarterback position. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Shedeur and Dillon Gabriel play next season. But just as far as Shedeur, he was solid. And I would say probably he is going to make the team just based off of that game. We'll see. Who knows? Next game, it could be awful. But
Shedeur's going to make the team. There's no question.
I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, but he definitely increased his odds with the performance on Friday.
I think it's a foregone conclusion, personally. I just think so. I don't think Dillon Gabriel's that good. And then obviously Kenny Pickett too. As you mentioned, the injuries, but I just think there's so much more upside with Shedeur. And I think what you saw in that game is the upside, where if you give him a clean pocket, he's out of the shotgun. You go 5 wide at times, 4 wide maybe, and he has time. He can keep his composure and he could sling it. It's just a question of when he has defensive linemen in his face. And at times, you saw him a little rattled or at certain points. I thought for the most part he was pretty good. I thought he was impressive. I don't think I'm kind of I'm not going to share the same enthusiasm for this as Mel Kiper, but I do think that dropping to the 5th round was a little bit much. Like I think he's better than a 5th round talent.
Probably.
I do kind of agree with Kiper in that assessment, but I'm just not going to be super passionate about it because I put really my entire stock in the 2025 draft into the Shedeur Sanders kid getting drafted in the top 10. But it's also the same theme that you're seeing with all the rookie quarterbacks. Cam Ward looked good. Jackson Dart looked good, but in the most basic of circumstances.
Yeah.
You're putting them in positions to be successful. Like Cam Ward, I really like the way that he drops back. When he's under center and he's kind of bouncing around, he still manages to keep his feet under him and get set and try to fire a throw. With Jackson Dart, he looked great, but I want to see the deep ball. That's the thing that people were most excited for him among the others in this draft was his arm and how strong it is. And I want to see that on display a little bit. You didn't really see that with any of his completions in this preseason game. And then Shedeur, pretty impressive. I mean, that touchdown that he had, he threaded the needle. You do have to give him credit on that throw.
Yeah.
But it was just a preseason week 1 game. Let's see more. I'm intrigued.
Exactly. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I thought it was a little ridiculous, Jamie Foxx comparing him to Willie Beeman, and that's fine. That's in good fun, whatever. But I've also seen Mitch Trubisky
Joe Flacco's Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, I guess so. And would that make Joe Flacco's wife all abusive and everything? It'd be you can't retire. Go back out there. Who's that? Lauren Hawley? Loved her in Dumb and Dumber. Hate her in any given Sunday. Good Lord. That's the last 2 episodes we referenced Any Given Sunday with Jerry Jones's contract, the way he used to negotiate shit back in the day.
Yeah. Well done. We'll work in a third with the next one.
Absolutely. But yeah, Mitch Trubisky, I remember having great performances in the preseason. Same with Colt McCoy. So it just helps Shedeur Sanders to make the roster and probably be maybe 2nd string or even 3rd string. You got to believe that the Browns had a higher grade on Dillon Gabriel to take him in the 3rd round as opposed to Shedeur Sanders. But if Shedeur's better in camp than Dillon Gabriel, you can't really argue with that.
Yep.
I do believe that Jackson Dart, his touchdown throw to little Jordan Humphrey was way more impressive than anything Shedeur Sanders did. I think that his arm talent is really impressive, and that throw was beautiful. Was he inaccurate on some throws? Yeah, he was, but I liked what I saw from Jackson Dart. I don't think he's going to get that starting job over Russell Wilson, but given their schedule and Brian Dable being on the hot seat, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it's a short leash for Russell Wilson. And then Cam Ward. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah,
you know, being an active listener, Derek, just trying to be a good podcast co-host.
No, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cam Ward, his connection with Calvin Ridley. I think they're going to do some damage together. Want to see a little bit more from Cam Ward before I have any judgments. And that's the bottom line is like, we're not going to know what really any of these rookie quarterbacks are going to be until we see them actually play come week 1.
Right.
Or whatever they actually get their starts this NFL season. Watched a little bit of JJ McCarthy, and he looked good. He was mobile. I saw him like at a 4th and 4 running for a first down. So he's going to use his legs, which is, Sam Darnold has mobility, but I think, JJ McCarthy is going to have more of that be a strength in this Vikings offense.
Right.
And yeah, he was establishing a connection with Jordan Addison, who's not going to be there for the first 3 weeks of the season. So those are my biggest takeaways. And then, Travis Hunter, having a few snaps on offense and defense. At the end of the day, his stat line is just 2 catches for 9 yards on offense, but he was in there defensively. And I'm very intrigued to see how this is going to work because people have their doubts, like Devontae Adams. And I know some people are like, what a hater. But Devontae, comparing to what he said a week ago to, the guys on the LA radio show about the Raiders, to just, I think he was on the Pivot talking about Travis Hunter. I think he's just being realistic. Like, you are more susceptible to injury when you play both sides of the ball and you have more snaps. So, and in that Florida heat, you could cramp up. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm wondering how it's going to look with Travis Hunter. That's like, as far as like the rookies, the quarterbacks are very interesting, but Travis Hunter is probably the most interesting thing as far as rookies, just because it's something we've never seen before.
Right. No, I can agree with that. I actually got fooled. Well, I guess Bleacher Report more got fooled. Maybe we should, I don't know, I'm kind of building into the segment that we used to have, or the one we did that one show where we tried providing context to certain things because comments needed context. And there was one posted by Bleacher Report, and I got fooled by this. The graphic is pretty damning if Trevor Lawrence were to say something like this about Travis Hunter. Do you want to come touchdowns, or do you want to maybe break up a pass or two a game? When he was asked about playing the two-way position. And well, that was the part of the quote. But then he also said selfishly, I'd like him more on offense, but Travis is talented. He can play wherever he wants and be decisive for the team. So,
thank God for that community thread by Twitter to clarify things.
Sometimes community notes can be very useful.
Yeah.
But I was, when I read that, I was a little skeptical. I'm like, do they need to make this work? I'd like to see it. I'm fascinated by it, but do they have to? Like, are they doing this just for the sake of doing this? Like, I personally would rather someone just put all their work. I'd just rather their rookie put in all their work into one spot instead of getting overwhelmed, which I think he would be by playing both positions. I think it would be a lot.
Of course it is. And I think,
like, is this really what's best for the team? Like, truly? Or are they just doing this because he was a two-way player in college and was a Heisman Trophy winner?
It kind of feels like it's a circus attraction.
It does.
Where the Jacksonville Jaguars are not a big marquee franchise. But they have Trevor Lawrence, who was, the first overall pick a couple of years ago. And, that's appealing in itself to some degree. But now it's like, come see the two-headed freak. Come see Travis Hunter play offense and defense. And I do wonder if he came out and said, right from the get-go, I'm playing wide receiver. That's all I'm doing. Would he have gone second overall? Like, and also like the same thing. Like if he says, I'm going to be a cornerback. Would he have gone second overall? Would he have gone later if he's just going to be that type of player? He's just so unique in being a unicorn that's why I forget the name of the GM, the young guy, but Liam Cohen and him were like, this guy's worth trading up for. So they've gone all in on this. They've talked glowingly about how special he is as a person, and their GM is like kind of ridiculous in his quotes, being like, if the fact that Travis Hunter can play both positions. That should inspire us as people to be better people, to do more in our lives. And I'm like, all right, calm down. But do they need to do this? Probably not. But does he want to do this? Yeah, and they're definitely supportive of that. So I have my doubts, but
I got to be honest, I do too. Like,
I want to see it though.
Yeah, I guess, but I have a feeling where maybe this will be a give it till segment or a part of the give it till segment where we give it till this amount of time before he turns into a full-time wide receiver because or could work out like Shohei Ohtani and we call him I guess the Shohei Ohtani of football, really. I was about to say like someone else, but there's really no precedent for it. So
but even even with Shohei, like it's impressive what Shohei's doing. But
he hasn't pitched more than 4 innings in a single game this season, and he's a designated hitter. It's not as physically exerting as playing both wide receiver and cornerback, where you got to run routes and also stop the guy who's running routes on the other side. Again, I just don't. It feels so unbalanced, even though they're trying to balance it. It feels like he could throw things out of whack for like the defense. Because what if he has to be in for a specific package, but he's exhausted because of what he just did on the offensive end?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Was with Ohtani, it's not the stamina is not really punishing to him because he can go out and hit a home run, take a breather, send the dugout, and then go out and pitch a little bit. With Travis Hunter, you're going straight from sprinting and then having to cover the guys that sprint. So, it could throw things out of whack. It's so unique. It's something we've never seen before. We've seen guys play both sides of the ball. Like Charles Woodson had some plays on offense. So did Deion Sanders, but never like this. So, I think next time, Steven, when we do a pod, we should do I Give It Till, because this is a good one.
Yeah, I think so. By the way, my favorite tweet to come out of the preseason after Jackson Dart was from Ian Hartitz. I think is how you pronounce his name. He's a
Hartitz?
Hartitz, yeah.
Hartitz?
No, like Hartitz.
Oh, yeah, I know this guy. He used to work for NFL Network. Yeah.
Jackson Dart is sneaky athletic, scrappy ball player. You can tell he has that first guy in, last guy out mentality. Truly deceptively fast, really scrappy, brings a hat and lunch pail to work every day. High football IQ and a real student of the game. Just so scrappy. Dude,
gotta love all those cliches.
That first line, when I saw him run up the middle for a first down after a broken play, you could just picture either Greg Olson or why am I blanking on like every single analyst in the game? Tony Romo, I don't know, whoever's calling the Giants game. There's a guy who's sneaky athletic. Here's a guy who can use his legs when he wants to. He's a sneaky athletic guy.
And the fact that his name is Dart, I mean, isn't that just appropriate for a quarterback? Seriously, like, do you think like when he was a kid, his dad was like, you can't be like anything else, right? Like, you're going to be a custodian? Come on, man.
What are you going to be, a dart? What are you going to be, a dart player? No, you're not.
No, this guy's born to be a quarterback. I miss Collinsworth.
It'd be so perfect.
Real quick, just some injury notes. Rashawn Slater, man.
Yeah.
That news happened while I was watching the Broncos defense go up against the 49ers. And with that defensive line, those pass rushers, Rashawn Slater was needed for the Chargers, and he has got the highest contract in NFL history for a tackle. Yeah. The fact that he's out for the rest of the season with a torn patellar tendon, I mean, asking around with people that are in the know, that's worse than an ACL for offensive linemen. Oof. He may never be the same, and that's devastating when they just signed the guy. But for the Chargers, I think they'll be okay because Joe Alt, I mean, like, the best thing in the world is have both of those guys be bookends on your offensive line. But now you can move Joe Alt to be left tackle, which is what he played in college. And then I guess it's like Trey Pumpkins is going to be right tackle, and they just picked up what's his name? Is that his name? Trey Pumpkins?
Pipkins.
I was thinking of who's my guy that Tom Hanks played in SNL?
Oh, no.
Any questions?
Are you talking about the Halloween guy?
Yes.
Oh, I don't remember his name.
Something pumpkins. It was a great
So you're
sketch.
thinking of a Tom Hanks SNL character from the 90s when we're thinking of the new Chargers right tackle.
No, Steven, don't age me that much. It wasn't from the 90s. It was probably like what, 7 years ago? It wasn't that old.
It was pretty old. It was from
No, it wasn't.
Wasn't it?
No, it was not.
The Tom Hanks Halloween character.
It's not from the 90s.
David S. Pumpkins.
David S. Pumpkins. It's from like a recent one, like from 2016. Come on.
Hang on.
You know I can reference my old SNL sketches, but that's a newer one.
Okay, 2016. Fine. By the way, just
you probably think of Stuart Smiley when he had like the jack-o'-lantern shirt on.
Just a quick aside.
Sure.
Dieter Kurtenbach. We like him, both of us.
Yeah, of course.
Just like what was with the hot take that this season of SNL, this cast for the 50th season was one of the better casts of all time? Hot take. Was he kidding with that one? Do you know?
I never know with Dieter. I never know with Dieter. He loves to throw some wild takes out there, and he considers himself a good a takesman. Like yesterday, like before the preseason game, he was like, "Can't wait to watch all these guys are going to play in the USFL."
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Jeez. I mean, I enjoy Dieter's work. Obviously, met him a few times. I like Dieter the person. I pretty much read anything he writes for the Bay Area News Group. But when I read that, I was like, damn, strong take.
Dieter's a fan of a lot of comedy. I remember me and him talking about BoJack Horseman. We were doing a show together, so he watches a lot. I bet you he's not joking.
Yeah. Very interesting take. I'd like to know more on why. I need him to expand on that idea.
You know, I was thinking about maybe asking him to come on. So if he has some time before the season starts, we'll ask him to go into detail on that take.
Absolutely.
What were we talking about? Rashawn Slater?
Yeah, Pipkins.
Yeah, Pipkins. And they also picked up, is it Drew Sharp that was the right tackle with the Raiders? That was terrible?
I don't know, but Pipkins is it sounds like a name that Mike Schur would come up with in one of his many TV shows. Mike Schur is big on making up fake names, so there's no legal loopholes that you have to jump through. It's one of the loopholes that he has, so you don't have to get into any legal troubles making up fake names. And Pipkins kind of sounds like a fake name. You're
talking about Mike Schur from Parks and Rec in The Office?
Yeah. We talked about it on Amy Poehler's podcast, and they went through the list of names, and they are hilarious. Just the random names that he would come up with, because you would have to get it cleared if that was in fact the real name of a person that you were using in the show.
Right.
So you have to use like a unique name, and he always created the most unique names. And the one filling in for the Chargers, Trey Pipkins the third, kind of sounds like one of those characters that Mike Schur would make up.
Yeah, but also sounds like something that would come out of like the Scarlet Pimpernel or something, or Pumpernail, whatever the hell, and just like, I'm Trey Pipkins the third.
Something, right? It can be used in a variety of ways.
Yeah. But yeah, not a good entry for the Chargers when
terrible.
When they're all about running the football, and Jim Harbaugh has referred to his weapons, his offensive weapons, as offensive tackles or offensive linemen in general. So not ideal, but I don't think it's going to ruin their season. I think they'll be fine. It's just Justin Herbert has to be a little bit more mobile this season.
Yeah, and it looks like, they're working with a lot of guards.
Yeah,
it looks like you have one designated tackle, and that's Joe Alt, who's almost effectively become the swing tackle at this point. Then the rest are just guards, and then obviously you got the center. But yeah, that's going to be one to watch for sure. Ooh.
Yeah. All right, let's do our Just Your Divisions, man, as we preview another division. Last time we did the AFC East, so let's do the NFC East. And let's start with the defending Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles. Who do they add this year? Well, they added Jahad Campbell, who was a linebacker from Alabama. They could use him as a outside linebacker in the 3-4 defense to be more of a pass rusher, but he comes in there and, adds the linebacking core of Nakobe Dean and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and, of course, Zach Bond. but they lost a ton of guys actually this offseason. Josh Sweat left, CJ Gardner-Johnson, who everyone thought tore his ACL, but actually did not. So he could be good to go week 1 for the Texans. Milton Williams left to go to the Patriots. Mekhi Becton, who we just talked about with the Chargers on their offensive line, who they may actually have to put at right tackle given the injury to Rashawn Slater. So I would say the Eagles, like, this is where, they capitalized on getting that Super Bowl, but now you may see them regress a little bit just because of the contract situations where they gave money to Jalen Hurts to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks of football, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, and eventually they're going to have to give contracts to Jalen Carter and other guys on that defense, but they're okay for right now. It's just, the biggest question mark is, can they repeat? Can they win back-to-back Super Bowls? And that's very hard in this day and age. I think with their schedule, too, who they're playing, they finished first.
Yeah.
So they'll play all of the, number 1 seeds from a year ago. They have to play the NFC North, which is, one of the more competitive divisions in all of football. They have to go on the road to Minnesota and Green Bay, and they have to go to Arrowhead to play in a rematch of the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. So that's my biggest thing, is just, can they repeat? And with the departures of a lot of guys, are they going to be as good? And is Jalen Hurts basically, is Jalen Hurts as good as some people believe? Like, he was Super Bowl MVP and he was worthy of that, but at the same time, you see a lot of top 10 lists for quarterbacks this offseason, and he's not high on those rankings.
Well, that's what led to the aforementioned Cam Newton, Gilly the Kid debacle.
Exactly.
And then Johnny Manziel just got roped into it, and then Gilly the Kid responded with a video with fake cocaine all around his nose and his mouth, which it made me laugh. But now that's turned into a whole thing.
Fake cocaine for Baker Mayfield?
Yeah. Yeah, he had the camera facing up at the ceiling as you hear his voice from off camera, and then you hear like a snort as the camera pans back to his face, and then he's got fake cocaine all over it, and he didn't blink for the entirety of the video, which was very impressive.
Interesting.
Anyway, Jalen Hurts.
Real quick, who is Gilly the Kid? Like, what is he? Just a super fan of the Eagles?
He does a podcast with Barstool called $1 Million Worth of Game, and I think he's a rapper, or he used to be.
All right, cool. Yeah, it'll be very interesting tomorrow when Mike Sando comes out with his annual QB tiers and where Jalen Hurts is placed among those.
Yeah, but you know what, Derek, though, like, they're going to have the best rushing team in football with Saquon back there and that offensive line. Like, they're only going to get better. They were banged up towards the end of the year and still managed to push through because of how much they love their coaches. And, I remember that. Remember we were talking about that in the lead up to the Super Bowl. Like, they really love God, why am I blanking on his name already?
Saquon?
Why am I blanking on the head coach's name?
Nick Sirianni.
Why was I kept on thinking Nick Caserio in my head. The Texans GM. I don't know why. So, yeah, they love Sirianni. So, I don't know. I'm not feeling whatever you think is going to be a regression this year. I think they're going to be pretty damn competitive in the NFC, and I think a lot of teams are going to be chasing them regardless of schedule. You make very good points about how they're going to have to battle some of the toughest divisions, all with that type of a hill to climb in trying to get a repeat. But just looking up and down their roster, it's not so much about the additions that they've made. When we do these division previews, we always talk about like the free agents or the rookies, someone who can give them a boost. Not really talking about that with the Eagles, barring some form of like a sophomore slump from Cooper DeJean. I think they got one of the best secondaries in the game. If Zach Bond was just a flash in the pan, maybe, but he's still one of the best middle linebackers in the game. I think that defensive line is only going to get better with Jalen Carter. So I'm not seeing much of a regression from the Eagles. It's clearly still their division to beat. And for now, it's still their conference to beat, unless someone else usurps them.
No, definitely. I mean, I was doing a NFC rankings with Copes the other day, and they're number one, obviously.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they take a step back just from, like what was it a year ago? They were 14-3.
Right.
Just the amount of teams they're going to face, like, upper echelon teams. Yeah, I could see them. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they don't win the NFC East this year. And actually,
Yeah.
that hasn't happened in, God, I think it's been 20 years since we've had a back-to-back winner in the NFC East.
You're saying you wouldn't be surprised if they won the division?
I wouldn't. Sorry, I wouldn't be surprised if they did not win the division.
So who do you? Well, okay, all right. Well, let's move on then. Who do you think is going to be the team to beat in the division then? Who
Well,
you think
it's still the Eagles. I mean, they're still the best team in that division. But I do think the Commanders threaten them a little bit. And I'm not picking the division winner today, but just yes, they are the number one team in all of football based on what they accomplished and their talent. But it's always hard to repeat. It's always hard to, replicate what you did a season ago. And I think it's going to be really hard for them given their schedule.
Well, I'm not just putting this out there. Well, I'm not going to completely rule this out, but I would be. So I wouldn't be surprised if I'm eating my words at the end of the season where you're saying I told you so, because you strike at times. You do get broken clock is right twice a day. Is that saying?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I strike occasion. I strike sometimes on occasion. Thank you. But moving on to the other teams, the NFC East. The Washington Commanders, they went for it this offseason. They didn't pay Terry McLaurin yet, but they added Deebo Samuel, traded a 5th-round pick for him, Laramie Tunsil, Von Miller. So they got a lot of veterans on this roster. But my biggest question is, we see it all the time where rookie quarterbacks have amazing seasons and then they have sophomore slumps. So is that going to be the case with Jaden Daniels?
Yeah.
He's put in a really good position again to succeed with Cliff Kingsbury coming back. It's just a matter of, are they going to be able to build off of what they accomplished a year ago by going into Tampa and Detroit in the playoffs and going to the NFC Championship game where it seemed like they were out of their element. They got there way too soon. But can they build upon that? And also the defense. I think that they were electric a year ago with that offense. I think that Cliff Kingsbury simplified things, for Jaden Daniels to succeed. And, their electric plays with the Hail Mary to Noah Brown against the Bears, the touchdown pass at the very end of the game to beat the Eagles, the touchdown pass to potentially tie the game against the Cowboys, but they missed the PAT. That's what their bread and butter was offense a season ago.
Yeah.
Their defense was opportunistic with turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
They got Marcus Lattimore. They traded for it in the middle of the season a year ago, but can they get to the quarterback? Do they have enough pass rush? That's why they got Von Miller, but they didn't, I forget who they drafted with their 1st-round pick, but I don't think they went defense. So what is, how are they going to prove defensively from a season ago is my biggest question mark.
Well, there's and you kind of took mine, and I think this should be the question for everyone who's wondering what's going to happen with the Commanders. Man, they got rid of Jonathan Allen, who obviously had the injury, and also their team leader in sacks last year, Dante Fowler Jr., who is now on the Cowboys. So, yeah, what's that pass rush going to look like? I mean, I think the Jaden Daniels thing is, as obvious as anything can be. What's the sophomore slump? Is he in for it? Is he not? And it's all kind of dependent on whether they do sign McLaurin. And I will operate under the assumption, though, that they will. I think if anything, I think the lack of pass rush could be glaring next season, because if you look at the names on that defensive line, at least on paper, not all that impressive.
Yeah.
Not that impressed. So, yeah, I think those two questions are fairly apt, and I don't really know what else we can look for in that regard. I mean, I guess they got one of the better coaching staffs in football. So, I think Cliff Kingsbury is in his rightful place as an offensive coordinator. I think Dan Quinn's a solid head coach. So I think that can take them pretty far. I'm not seeing like a big regression incoming. As a matter of fact, I could see them being even better. But it is predicated on Jaden Daniels.
No, 100%. Moving on in the division, the Dallas Cowboys. They made additions. Yeah, I know. I'm over talking about them, but at least we're talking about football with them and not so much like off the field shit. They traded for George Pickens. They signed Javonte Williams. They signed Miles Sanders to add to that backfield. The first round draft picks a guard in Tyler Booker because Zach Martin retired. So, yeah, I mean, it's, with the Cowboys, it's always a shit show. And I don't think that they're any better than what they were a year ago. I don't think that they're any closer to the Philadelphia Eagles or the Washington Commanders. I guess just my biggest question mark with them is Brian Schottenheimer going to be better than what people expect? I think initially, like, the reaction was, Jerry's just going the cheap route. And yeah, it is that. It 100% is that, where he's in the Al Davis phase of his career where he doesn't want to sign back Mike McCarthy. He tried to lowball him, take less money just to remain being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And instead he goes with Brian Schottenheimer for a lesser amount of money. But can he surprise people? Can he actually be, a serviceable head coach? Can he challenge Nick Sirianni and Dan Quinn in that division? And, I think if you had to go like their win total, probably the projection is like 7 wins. Can they be like a 9-win team? Like, I don't know if anybody's expecting playoffs this season, but can they be better than what people expect? And yeah, bottom line with them is, will Jerry Jones just fork over the money and pay Micah Parsons before he sabotages his own team?
My question is, it's kind of boring, but what's the run game going to look like?
Yeah.
They haven't really figured it out post Ezekiel Elliott. Last year, Rico Dowdle was the starter. Obviously, Tony Pollard. I was a big Tony Pollard apologist a couple of years ago. I'm very proud on that one. I'm going to stick with that one. I'm going to use that.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Apologist. And now they're going to move forward with Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders and obviously
Jaden Blue.
And obviously you saw what happened last year. Just picking up 7 wins on the season because they weren't healthy and they didn't really have much of a run game. Like Rico Dowdle had over 1,000 yards, but he wasn't scoring touchdowns like Zeke used to do. So can they find that replacement? And also, can they get past the divisional round? Apparently that's a popular thing, Derek, on Twitter. Just all of this to lose in the divisional round. And that's mostly regarding the Micah Parsons stuff. And I think, I don't really see this team doing much beyond the divisional round unless they do a total regime change, because I think Jerry Jones has kind of just – I think time has run its course with him as the team's general manager. Like the owner, fine. You can be an owner, but when he's the GM and his son are both making the decisions, like I just don't know how far this team's going to go.
It's really more Stephen Jones as the general manager now because he actually kind of coordinates the contracts and whatnot. But I hear you. Like at the end of the day, the owner approves the contracts, so that's going to be a big sticking point also, where he's always going to be in the way.
Another thing, just what's George Pickens going to look like? George Pickens, new team. Are they going to, it clearly didn't work out with the Steelers, and I imagine they weren't big fans of him behind the scenes because of, at times, his lack of effort and it seemingly like doing stuff for the show of social media rather than for actual play on the football field. But can he actually turn a corner? And who knows? Maybe that wide receiver core with him and CeeDee Lamb turns him one of the best in the NFL, unless that ref might have killed him. He didn't kill CeeDee Lamb in yesterday's game, did he?
He did not, but he threw a flag on him for interference.
For getting in the way?
Like, being on the field, I guess. But
letting a ref truck stick you 10 yards.
That video made me laugh, and it was kind of reminiscent of, do you remember the old classic YouTube video of a reporter like doing a stand-up, and then out of nowhere a horse comes over and tramples him?
No, I don't remember that.
Always makes me laugh. I hope that guy's alive, but regardless, it makes me laugh. And I know, probably excruciatingly painful for that individual to be trampled by a horse. Nevertheless, I do laugh. And that was the case last night with CeeDee Lamb.
Mm-hmm. And he's okay.
No, CeeDee Lamb's fine. He'll be fine. That referee's not going to knock him out for the season.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think that the receiving core could be one of the best duos in all of football. I do think the offense will be good, and they do have their choice when it comes to running back this season, but I don't know if any of them are good. They got Jaden Blue, who was one of the running backs for Texas a year ago. Deuce Vaughn, who little dude that was drafted from Kansas State a couple seasons ago. So they got a lot of running backs. But again, I don't know if any of them are really that good. I think Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders now are like just journeymen at this point. I never was a big Miles Sanders fan to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as George Pickens, that's going to be so interesting because this is a contract year for him. They're going to pay Micah Parsons. I think this is a one and done thing with George Pickens. I don't know how they can afford. George Pickens is probably going to want $30 million a year, just like these other wide receivers. They're paying CeeDee Lamb 34. I think this is just this is a showcase season for George Pickens to ball out with the Dallas Cowboys and then get some bank in free agency next year.
And then one of the NFL insiders can report the contract and then say he bet on himself and it paid off.
Exactly. They love that one. Okay, moving on to the New York Giants. They obviously got Russell Wilson, and they drafted Cam Skattebo from Arizona State to be their running back. And the big one was getting Abdul Carter with the 3rd overall pick, I believe, and then trading up again and getting Jackson Dart. I guess my biggest questions are, how long will Brian Daboll keep his job? Because he's definitely on the hot seat. Could have justified him getting the axe along with Joe Shane after last season's debacle. I don't think that Brian Daboll has been set up to succeed. It's clear that he's a good play caller. I think he could potentially be a good head coach. It's just he had that one, playoff season with Daniel Jones, and then they paid Daniel Jones. That was a huge mistake. And I really do like the criticism of the Giants not signing back Saquon Barkley. I get it, but also Saquon was not signing back with the Giants. That was not going to happen. And it was only like the offer that the Eagles gave was a tad bit better than what the Giants offered. And in the end, Saquon was not going to have the same success with the Giants that he had with the Eagles a year ago. The Eagles have the best offensive line in all of football. And that's without Jason Kelce. He was not going to be able to rush for 2,000 yards with the Giants. So I know people blame Joe Shane for that. You're not a playoff team. You're way behind the 8 ball with every other team in that division. To give a shit ton of money towards, the running back position, they went a different route and gave it to Brian Burns. I'm okay with that.
My biggest question, and you just mentioned the name, I think this defensive line has a chance to be special.
Yeah.
So I wonder, is the talking point around the Giants season going to be they are winning games because of this defensive line? Or are they losing games despite having one of the best defensive lines in football?
Yeah.
I really think with an all-pro and sexy Dexter Lawrence, along with Brian Burns, and just how good Abdul Carter has been looking, and all of the reports from training camp around Giants camp is that he's just dominating and has been every bit of the 2nd overall pick that they were hoping. So that's my one thing with them. The quarterback situation is going to be one to watch. Jackson Dart's probably going to get more run. Sneaky athletic Jackson Dart.
Mm-hmm.
But I think ultimately, are they going to win games because that defensive line is just wrecking everything for the opposing offense and just giving that Giants offense a little bit more of a chance, better field position, all those different things?
I mean, yeah, they do have talent. Malik Neighbors could be a great player in this league.
Well, and Mauser brought it up on the pod that Russell Wilson, for his, I don't want to say lack of mobility anymore, but for his mobility not being what it once was, he still does have that deep ball in his tool belt. So he can unleash that with Neighbors, and that could be a little sneaky, kind of like Jackson Dart, sneaky athletic, a sneaky connection with Wilson and Neighbors if, they're on the same page.
I mean, I'm with you. I think that this defensive line might be the best the Giants have had since their Super Bowl days, where they had, Strahan and Tuck, Matthias Kiwanuka, O.C. Umenyiora, like all those guys back in the day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
I was wondering where you were going to go with that name. I was
Osi
waiting.
Umenyiora?
I was waiting for it, and
What for me to butcher it?
Yeah, you landed. You nailed the dismount, Eric. So 10 out of 10.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm pretty good with guys from my childhood because I heard the name enough. The Giants had a bunch of, I mean, their pronunciations. You had Osi Umenyiora, Matthias Kiwanuka, Kavika Mitchell.
It's good knowledge.
Yeah. That was a good defense. But yeah, I'm with you with Dexter Lawrence probably being the best nose tackle in all of football. Their defense might be one of the best, and then their offense leaves a lot to be desired. And yeah, I'm with you where I think Russell Wilson could probably, have a good connection with Malik Neighbors. Like you saw a season ago where Russell Wilson was still throwing the deep ball pretty well to Mike Williams when he was with Steeler for a little bit of time. But I mean, just looking at their schedule, I had it here. Hold on one second. I know they open up against the Commanders. They're at the Commanders. They're at the Cowboys. They're home against the Chiefs. They're home against the Chargers. They go to New Orleans, so that could be a win. They're home against the Eagles. They're on the road against the Broncos. Then they go to the Eagles again, home against the 49ers. They could go off to a rough start, and I wonder just how long Brian Dable and Joe Shane will be, patient enough to be like, well, we got Russell Wilson, but we got to save our fucking jobs here. We might get axed by the bye week. Let's put Jackson Dart in there. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised, given the hot seat for both guys, that they just yank Russell Wilson real quick because they got to show John Mara what they have in this first round quarterback.
Right. I agree with that.
And their bye week's not till week 14. Same as the 49ers. That's brutal. Yeah. They for how bad they were a season ago, just winning 3 games, the Giants have a awful schedule. Awful schedule. So there you go. That's our preview of the NFC East. Want to do a little jackass of the week, Steven?
I can do a jackass of the week.
Do you have one?
It's more of a group, so I guess you could say jackasses of the week.
Okay.
But this little cryptocurrency meme coin group that is responsible for throwing all the dildos on the WNBA court. Yeah, you're getting my jackass of the week, and I should have been more prepared in this because I want to get that article.
I saw it. Yeah, the
Athletic wrote. It was The Athletic and ESPN, USA Today. Like this, essentially, I can't find it right away, so I apologize to the listeners. But they essentially said, yeah, we created this meme coin because of the toxic environment in the crypto world. So this is our form of protest. And they decided to bring more of a market to it by throwing dildos on the WNBA court. And now in the crypto world, you can like trade coins, whatever they are, Bitcoin, whatever it is. And you can essentially bet on whether dildos are going to be thrown on the court. And if you saw the kid who got arrested, there was one in Phoenix. I actually don't think this was the dildo, I think, that hit someone in the crowd. It didn't make it all the way to the court.
So when you say this was the dildo that broke the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, I know. But if you see this kid, it's like he's being super judgmental, but whatever. He's throwing dildos onto a WNBA court. We have the right to reserve judgment here. Like he's got stains on his hoodie. He just looks disheveled. And it's like, this is the exact type of person that would do this. And crappy part is they don't have any way to stop it. Like what's arena security supposed to do? A security protocol. Now you're meant to pat people down. And then you're supposed to see if that's a dildo that you're packing there. Like, know what I mean?
They pretty much do that to me every time I go through the Fort Lauderdale TSA.
Right, but this isn't TSA, Derek, where you're trying to take out your laptops and your creams, your gels, your toothpaste, over 4 ounces. Get it out of here. Like, is that it? 4 ounces or 3 ounces? Which one is it?
I don't know anymore. All I know is you can wear your shoes.
There you go. Like, I don't know what arena security is supposed to do. So, for anyone who's throwing these dildos onto the court during WNBA games, yeah, you're all my jackasses of the week.
Well, they did something for Thursday night's games where there was a no bag policy. So like whoever snuck that dildo in had it secured tightly somehow, some way. Initially, my reaction to the dildo being thrown on the court, I thought it was funny, but then like every game now, it's like, all right, we get it. Like it's childish, and the fact that it's a meme coin thing, I'm like, that's fucking lame. And I'm with Adam Copeland.
I don't even know what a meme coin is.
I don't know what it is, and I don't care to know. I don't really care about any form of cryptocurrency. I thought that it was all a Ponzi scheme from the get-go, but this is a way to revive it. I'm with Adam Copeland a little bit, where he was skeptical of this whole thing, being like, did meme coin actually start this thing? Or are they just latching on to a craze right now where people are throwing dildos on the court? I don't know. It could have been that the first dildo thrown had that meme coin logo on it.
Well, that's the thing, is they didn't claim the first dildo thrower. The first or the first one that got arrested. There was one in LA who got arrested, and apparently he's not part of the meme coin thing. The kid who got arrested in Phoenix is. So they didn't claim the LA assailant.
Yeah. So I think that maybe this is meme coin just latching onto this right now, and it's getting tiresome. Like I think of in the same terms, like if I was watching football and some guy's throwing a dildo on the field every week, I'm like, come on, this is fucking annoying. First time it's funny when the Patriots and Bills were playing in a playoff game, and the Bills fans are known to do that sometimes after an opposing team scores a touchdown. But if it's going to be every fucking game, that's enough. We get it. You know, it was funny when Kelsey Plum was trying to kick the dildo off the court, but come on. We get it. It was funny the first time. Move on.
I agree. That's why they're my jackasses of the week. What's yours?
And, well, just real quick, I thought it was funny that Marcus Thompson tweeted out, the Valkyries, they actually perform well when there's a dildo thrown on the court. And it's always lime green, which I was like, oh, so we going like that's a Shrek dildo or a Hulk dildo? I thought Shrek was appropriate, but people were like, why are you thinking Shrek? I'm like, if I had to imagine what Shrek's dong looked like, it's probably in dildo form on the WNBA court.
It was that shade of green.
Yes.
Probably.
All right, my jackass of the week is a very respected journalist from ESPN, Don Van Natta. And he does these great pieces with Seth Wickersham, but I thought his response to Dan Patrick was a little over the top. So we talked about the NFL and ESPN getting in bed together. And that does leave a lot of people wondering how ESPN is going to cover the NFL. When you have a partnership with somebody, it's synergy. It is hard to then criticize the team that you're in bed with, or the people that you're in bed with. That's why every time Pat McAfee sends a tweet out being like, oh, good of ESPN to do a deal with, WWE, even though I know a bunch of suits are idiots. And some people are like, you're going to call out your employer like that and nothing's going to happen. And Pat McAfee has that benefit. Dan Patrick, the other day on his show, was talking about ESPN having the partnership with the NFL, and he goes, the journalist in me would point out the conflict of interest, but ESPN can't be any further in bed with the NFL. Are they going to look the other way with any negative stories that come up? They probably already do that. Yes and no. I don't think they look away. Like when I was working at NFL Network, I talked about this, but when Brian Flores was suing the league because he thought that he wasn't getting the same opportunities that other coaches were in interviews, we didn't report on that. I remember being in the, I guess the bullpen area, and there were younger kids who were fresh out of journalism school being like, we're not going to talk about this on NFL Network. And I'm like, guys, this is your first lesson in the real world, unfortunately. Don't be naive. The league is not going to touch this stuff because it makes them look bad. And that's a big problem with the NFL Network. For years was they can report on, trades and free agent signings and all the drama that goes in to the NFL. But if it's stuff that makes the owners look bad, they're probably not going to touch that. They didn't really go into Colin Kaepernick and all that stuff. Whereas ESPN doesn't mind doing that. But now that they have a partnership, will it be tough? Don Van Natta tweeted at Dan Patrick saying, Dan, I did run an exclusive report on the NFLPA story that led to directly Lloyd Howell's resignation, a confidentiality agreement, the Carl Group, strip club, receipts. Do your homework before you malign your ex-colleagues. I'm embarrassed for you. It's a little aggressive. I'd say it's a little aggressive. Then he puts a quotation with Dan Patrick, the journalist in me, and also in quotations. I don't know how deep ESPN went on the mess at the NFLPA. I know Florio did. A couple of people did. Imagine saying the journalist in me and then failing journalism 101. I think it's a little aggressive on his part. I think that Don is right to defend himself and when his reports from the past, but you have to acknowledge that it is an interesting look for a news network, along with being entertainment, is in bed with the league. They've never done this before. And yeah, you have to believe that maybe when things come up that make the league look bad, they're going to turn the other cheek. But then again, there's a ton of people like Mike Florio and Pablo Torre that reported on this story. I don't remember Don Van Natta reporting on this, but I guess he did. But to just like feel like offended by Dan Patrick's claims, I think it's fair. I also think it's warranted.
Well, Don's was like an extension of what Florio and Pablo Torre did. Like he found out like much more about Lloyd Howe specifically. Like theirs was mostly on JC Treader and how Lloyd Howe got the job in the first place. And they did a little deep dive into Howe's time with Booz Allen, I think was the crazy firm that he used to work with that had to reach a settlement and all these different things. Like that's what Pablo Torre and Florio revealed. Then Don Van Natta revealed the rest. I have to see the Dan Patrick clip because from that quote, it just sounds like he's wondering about what their future is going to look like. And then ESPN and then Van Natta's like, well, look what I've done. Look what I've done in the past. It's like, no, that's not the question we're wondering. We're wondering, are you going to be able to do these types of pieces in the future without the NFL stepping in because they have a partial stake in your company?
Yeah.
And I think that's a very fair question. But I also didn't see the entire clip of Dan Patrick. So I don't know. I don't know if Van Natta can be the jackass of the week for that response, but it did feel a little strong to what those quotes were. But I didn't do my journalism homework and I didn't watch that entire clip. So I don't know.
I didn't watch the entire clip, and I think that Dan is usually very fair about things. I think Don Van Natta has been on his show numerous times, along with Seth Wickersham, about their reports, and they've done great reports. But yeah, you do have to question, how they are going to go about things with their partnership. Like, I'm not expecting Schefter to divulge anything bad about the league. He's never done that. He basically works for the owners and the agents and to some degree the players. But yeah, he's not going to come out with anything. Like ESPN, as far as any of their insiders, Jeremy Fowler or whoever else they employ, Dan Graziano, none of them had really in-depth reports on the whole collusion when it came to the owners not wanting to give players fully guaranteed contracts. Because honestly, I don't think that there was much interest where, Pablo Torre is going to report on things not based on the interest level, but just how good it is journalism-wise. Is the NFL covering up something? So, yeah, it's fair to say in the future that when something happens, is ESPN going to go really in depth on it? And, I thought that Don Van Natta overreacted a little bit.
I think Ernie 2's response to Skills here. Skills what did I miss? It's preseason football talk. You ain't missing much. Jeez.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Then why you here rocking? Oh, what else we got? You want me to talk about the Giants? They're going to play in about 15 minutes here. And I don't know. You want to hear my new song for Kai Wei Tang?
Please.
All right. It's a little take on Mary Jane. Kai Wei Tang. Do you love me, Kai Wei Tang? Oh, do you think about me, Kai Wei Tang?
Well done.
Thank you.
I'm very impressed.
Yeah, it really doesn't fit
No, you hit that, man.
I appreciate that.
I was closing my eyes not out of disgust, but rather I was trying to just give my auditory senses to heighten them. And it was not because your voice is awful.
I appreciate that.
It was really well done.
Thank you. It's weird to use those words. Do you love me, Kai Wei? Do you love me, Kai Wei Tang? Do you think about me, Kai Wei Tang? But it just fits with Mary Jane so well.
It does.
Yeah. I try to do it also for Tom Petty's Last Dance with Kai Wei Tang. It's not as good.
Nah.
Yeah. The Rick James version works a lot more.
I think so.
Thanks.
I think you could you can do a little bit better, but I think you're at a solid starting point.
Yeah, I might make a whole song out of it. Who knows? Wow. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of the Giants right now. Yeah.
The gist of the Giants is you making up a song about Kai Wei Tang?
Pretty much. Why, you want to go in depth with Drew Gilbert? By all means.
I think it's pretty much the same as having Yastrzemski out there, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I like I love Yastrzemski. I love the player that he was, but I couldn't stand watching the at-bats whenever the Giants would rally and then seeing Mike Yastrzemski up to bat. Like I couldn't do it.
Yeah, does Drew Gilbert even have a hit yet? Like he had some really nice diving catches in right field, but
that's the thing. It's like as long as he's serviceable defensively, and can maybe give you like a 250 batting average, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Although it was, a little confusing. I mean, you obviously know, like I think the world of Kruk and Kite, but when they kept on calling him a number 1 draft pick, I'm like, so he's taken number 1 overall, even though I knew he was 28th overall. But like they kept saying number 1 pick. It's like, well, the Giants traded for a number 1 overall pick from 2022. It's like, no, he was the 28th overall. So not exactly the number 1.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, I know.
I mean,
I don't care about prospects. I don't care at all. Like whatever Bryce Eldridge does in the minors, cool. But when he gets called up, then I'll be interested.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous, man. I shouldn't be, because why should you be hesitant on those prospects? But I'm so nervous because Giants fans were spoiled with the top prospects being hailed as top prospects, and then getting into the show, then Brandon Crawford proving that he's one of the best defensive shortstops of all time. I'm firmly stand on that. Like defensively, I'll put him up there against anyone. Really will. Really would. Madison Bumgarner and Buster Posey, obviously what they turned into. Even Brandon Belt was okay for a period of time. I'm just so nervous that Bryce Eldridge, after the latest string of prospects who were called up and ultimately underperforming, I am very nervous about it. Because I'm scarred from Luciano. I am scarred from Marco Luciano, and that's my fault. This is all me. I'm not saying anyone else should be scared. This is a me problem here, because I talk about myself a lot. It's a me problem, Derek. I watched him in San Jose. I saw him go like 2 for 3 or something with a couple of doubles. I'm like, seen enough. Call him up. It's like low A ball.
Mm-hmm.
But as he made his way through the minors and then he got to the big leagues, it's just, I thought it was going to be the next great thing for the Giants. And instead, can't even figure out a place for him. So I'm worried. Yep. I'm not worried. I'm just nervous for the Eldridge experience. I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know really what the value is of bringing him up here this season with all the pressure that he's probably feeling to be this generational Giants player who's going to be crushing baseballs in a McCovey Cove. But whenever it does happen, I'm going to be nervous, man. I'd love to be excited, but I feel like we're going to see a lot of what we saw in spring training early on, which is a 450-foot bomb and then 4Ks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is kind of what you get out of the Giants right now.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, like Rafael Devers is turning it around, hitting home runs at the same time, strikes out a bit. Steven's gone for whatever reason.
Sorry.
I think bottom line is, I think in general, people know as much about prospects as they do about players in the preseason.
Right.
You have no idea. It's a crapshoot. So, yeah, I'd like to see Bryce Eldridge before the season ends, but I don't know. Bottom line with the Giants, they lose yesterday to the Nationals. Why would I believe that they're going to turn it around? Seriously, like what?
32 put it perfectly. Gary Brown's still about to break into the league, right? Yep. Gary Brown. Anyway, continue.
No, just bottom line is like, if they win today, cool. They won 2 out of 3 against the Nationals. But really, for me to believe that they can actually make it to the postseason.
Yeah, but Derek, you just think too big picture too much. It's depressing. Just focus on the game, the series. They won, but I don't think they're going to make the play. Obviously, they're probably not going to make the playoffs. But isn't that
the whole goal, Steven?
Sure. But it's a 162-game season. It's a little exhausting. Thank you, Phoebe. When all we talk about is the big picture stuff. I do like watching Rafael Devers turn it around. I do like Jung Hooley actually going the other way, the opposite field. I am intrigued with who they got in return for Tyler Rogers, even though it was a sell move. Like there's little things to pay attention to. And yeah, sure, the lack of a postseason push is hovering over the Giants, sure. But it's like I enjoyed.
Yeah, but that's the small miracles that you and everybody else at KNBR look for with the Giants because you're fans. The whole point of them was to make this the postseason. This was supposed to be a different year. Yeah. And the expectations, once you got Rafael Devers, were to make the postseason. So now I understand he's turning it on right now. No, it wasn't. Those weren't the expectations when you traded for Rafael Devers.
I think in part it was the expectation, but I think the other part was Buster found a disgruntled player and managed to get him on a better deal than he would have in free agency. So I think there was a little bit of, they're doing this because they're winning. But I also think they did that move because there was an opportunity to do it. Of
course. And also Buster got to the front of the line to talk with the Red Sox GM where he didn't have to go through everybody else. Which, made me believe that maybe he would have a hard time at the trade deadline. But I always thought that this season for the Giants was going to be equal parts competitive and also an evaluation season. Mm-hmm. But yeah, once you get Rafael Devers, yes, that is for the long term, but also it was to go for it this season. And now, yes, he's turning it around a little bit. The offense has turned it around, but it may be too little too late. So I've lost my interest. If they're not going to beat the Nationals, sweep them, they got to make it competitive against the Padres. Right now, I don't know. Bottom line is we talk about him ad nauseum at KNBR. I'm over the Giants. I really am.
It's a shame.
Why is that a shame?
Because there's still 2 months left in the season, and you're going to talk about them.
Rarely, if I have anything to say about it, to me, it's football time.
Yeah. So you're just intriguing topics like, why do people put the thirds at the end of their names? I literally tuned in for 5 minutes, and that was the topic that I caught the other day.
I mean, you want to talk about anything else at this point?
Dude, I'm sorry. I just have to mention this. The joke was right there at the end because it was literally my drive to Safeway. Okay, yeah. I woke up in the afternoon, did my daily nap, woke up, went to Safeway. It was like the 5 minutes. I literally got there when I think Copes was the one who brought up the name thing, and then you guys discussed it for a bit, and actually it was making me laugh. But then you kept on calling the documentary the Pee Wee Herman documentary about Pee Wee Herman. It's like, yeah, this guy all of a sudden we have to call him Paul Rubens. His name is Pee Wee Herman. What's with the name change? The joke was right there.
Wait, what did I say? Wait, go back.
You brought up first off, you were asking like why guys change their names, and you went in about God, who was not the guys who changed their name to the third, but you brought up like
Steve Smith Sr.
Yeah, Steve. Well, you called him Junior.
Yeah, I made the mistake in hindsight.
I'm sure it got corrected later on.
Yeah.
But the Steve Smith thing and all that. And then you went into the whole Billy Joel, Pee Wee Herman documentary.
Yeah.
And you could have easily like just thrown in the joke, like, yeah, this Pee Wee Herman guy's trying to call himself Paul Rubens. What's with the name change? Even though he's not around, obviously.
Yeah, he's been dead for quite some time. But yeah, I hear you, Steven.
You know what I mean? I just think that that joke was right there on the table.
Damn it! Well, alas, you should have texted me.
No, it's I don't know, whatever.
Well, that's a good one. It's a good transition for pop culture catch up. Have you watched anything lately, Steven?
No. Right. Unfortunately, I haven't. been listening to a few things. JID just came out with his new album, JID, the initials. JID. And I think he is one of the best in the game right now. He's lyrical, his flow, everything. And this one showed a little more of his personality. So I highly recommend listening to the new JID album if you can.
He's a rapper.
He is a rapper.
He's got that hot JID out there.
Damn right. He was signed to Dreamville with J. Cole's label, and he's been rapping under them ever since. And he's, I think he's one of the greats, really.
Damn.
Not one of the greats, but he's one of this generation's greats.
Okay, well, listen for some JID.
Yeah, dude.
I gave you long enough, Steven. I'm going to do my review of The Naked Gun, the new movie.
All right. I am muting.
No spoilers. It's just
Derek, you're terrible at this. You say no spoilers, and then you say this little thing that you don't think is a spoiler, but it's actually a spoiler.
I'm not going to spoil anything for the Naked Gun movie where the plot is so important.
I'd rather have it be mysterious. So you do your review, and I'm going to put you on mute and let you do.
Fine, that's fine. Steven will put me on mute for this movie that potentially may get spoiled for him. It's a spoof movie, for God's sakes. Look, I said this already on Dirty Work, but Naked Gun, to me, I'll always just put in high regard as just classic comedy. Like that and Blazing Saddles. All of Mel Brooks' stuff. Pretty much everything the Zucker brothers did for back in the day, Airplane, Top Secret. Those movies will stand the test of time of just being silly and goofy and just good comedy. And I don't think we need to reboot them. So when it came out that they were going to do a reboot of The Naked Gun, I was like, we don't need that. We don't need that for a new generation. The current generation should go back and watch the Naked Gun movies. But then when I heard it's going to be good people, funny people that I respect, like Seth MacFarlane and Akiva Schaffer from The Lonely Island, and Liam Neeson, funny enough, his name's close enough to Leslie Nielsen. I'm like, all right, you know what? This could work. And watching the movie, nothing will ever beat the first two Naked Guns. Naked Gun, Files from Police Squad, and Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, which I think is a funnier film. That's just comedy to me, and that cannot be duplicated or replicated. But the spirit of the old movies was there with Liam Neeson and this film, and Pamela Anderson did a great job. A lot of callbacks. I wish they did more callbacks, like where Happy Gilmore 2 was a lot of referencing the original movie. I wish they did a lot more callbacks to the original Naked Guns. It was a lot more like literal humor. But overall, I laughed, and that's all I asked for. So this is the first stepping stone for us to get comedies back into theaters. We don't have a lot of comedies anymore, and I long for that. It's good to laugh with strangers. So, was it the funniest film of all time? No, but was it the funniest film I've seen in a movie theater in quite some time? Yes. So I think that's a good step forward to comedy once again back in the movie theaters. I'm done, Steven.
Okay. I am glad that this wasn't like a direct to streaming release. Like Instead, it's actually in the theater. I do think that's important. I turned that on like towards the end because I knew it kind of felt like 30 seconds in. All right, he's kind of moving on here. He's going to talk about big picture stuff with comedy. Big picture comedy stuff.
Big comedy. I'm an advocate for big comedy back in movie theaters.
But Ernie 2 asked a very important question. Top 3 comedy movies of all time.
Okay. I would put number 1 just because of how witty it is and how, like, if something's goofy to me and silly, that's to me like the epitome of comedy. Like, that's my personality. So number 1, I do think the funniest film of all time is The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear. I just think the jokes per minute and some of the lines in there, like when he's asking questions at a crime scene. So what do you look like? Oh, big guy, mustache, 6'3". That's an awfully big mustache. Just shit like that makes me laugh. Like, it's just simple comedy. Very controversial, but I would put number 2, Blazing Saddles. I do think that movie revolutionized comedy, and I think that people get too hung up on, the racist element of it. I think at the end of the day, that movie was just seriously. I do believe that movie was basically telling everybody to be more tolerant of everyone. Right. At the end of the day.
Yeah, it's just everyone's too focused on that racism stuff.
Yes, I mean, yes, the N-word is thrown out a lot in that movie, but I think it's justified. It's hard to say, but it is just for what the movie's about and teaching people that you need to accept other people. It's really making fun of white people. That's the gist of Blazing Saddles, is making fun of ignorant white people.
Yeah. And what's
third? Come back to me on that one. Do you have your top 3 ready to go?
Yeah, well, it's these lists are interesting, right? Like, we always do top 3. And I mean, if you're talking like greatest comedies of all time, like at the scale of, I don't know, cinematic impact, then, you know, I'm sure I can make a different list, but this is my personal top 3. Number 1, Dumb and Dumber. Number 2, Zoolander. Number 3, Airplane.
Yeah, I'd probably go number 3, Airplane.
Bing, bang, boom.
Yep. That style of comedy, just like, you know, spoof stuff, is hilarious to me.
But if we're talking like greatest of all time, we could debate about a Mel Brooks feature that Till the Cows Come Home. I mean, you probably put, I don't know, Young Frankenstein up there too.
Yep.
You know, one of those ones. I mean, Animal House was just different.
Caddyshack.
Caddyshack. All those movies. So yeah, I mean, that could be a totally different list. But yeah, my top 3: Dumb and Dumber, Zoolander, and Airplane.
Zoolander, all right.
Yeah, just the rewatchability factor. Like, I can watch that over and over again, and it still cracks me up. I actually think an honorable mention. We don't really mention a lot of new movies, but I think Superbad would be an honorable mention.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, like all the Apatow comedies. Like, that's the thing, is like, we don't, like, whatever style of comedy it is, we just don't get it. Like, it's more so action comedy. Like, it has to have an element of like thrills. Like, that's why like Nobody 2's like being made. It's because it's equal parts comedy, but also there's a lot of action in it. And why Naked Gun is coming out is because the IP of it. It's a bankable thing. So if I'm all for it, if it just means we're getting true comedies back in the movie theaters, that's all I ask.
Yeah, I think what's on the rise, and maybe this is not an original take, but it seems like we're constantly getting new, solid, kind of like era-defining horror movies. Feels like we're getting a lot of those.
Yeah, we are. Like, I heard really good things about Weapons.
The new Weapons one made me think of it. Like Hereditary, The Conjuring, like all of these movies that are made beyond 2010. And we're not just talking about like the old school, the classics, like Halloween or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Seems like horror is kind of in this revolution right now. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's not, but like, you know, you got the Scream Queens, like you got this new version of those with like Mia Goth and I mean, I guess for whoever that was, that actress in Hereditary, whoever that was, I can't remember her name. I'm blanking on her right now. She was in like Knives Out. She's been in a lot of newer stuff, but older stuff.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I can't think of the name, but anyway, hopefully comedy's coming back, but it seems like horror movies are kind of having their day right now.
Well, it's really the comedy, you know, directors turned horror directors.
Yeah.
Where it's Jordan Peele. And I guess the guy that made Weapons was in The Whitest Kids You Know.
Really?
Yep. Zach Cregers.
Whoa.
He directed Miss March with the guy that passed away that was part of The Whitest Kids You Know, and now he's made horror movies.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep.
This guy who, like, in Miss March, who just completely pooped his pants?
.mpeg. Yep.
.mpeg. Horstick.mpeg. Wow.
Yep. Went the Jordan Peele route.
Wow.
All right, everybody. That's it for today. I didn't tell you this before, Stephen, but Wednesday night we have a little Dirty Work gathering where we're going to see the actual movie Dirty Work, the R-rated version, at the Alamo Draft House.
Oh, that's fun.
In the Mission. So should we do Thursday? Thursday work for you?
I think so.
All right, then.
I have to look at my calendar, Derek.
Oh, you got a calendar now. Look at you.
No, I mean, you know, I always got stuff going on. You know, I'm a busy guy.
Sure.
Well, Thursday's free.
Okay. Good to know. All right, everybody. We'll be back then. To everybody in the chat, Thanks to Rocka New Era, to Ernie1, I didn't forget about you, to AJ Cruz, to the Skills Report, and I believe, we got a random guy in here today. There was Adam, just a random Adam. And there was also some guy in here earlier, user -4MS TJ1R. Thank you for your contribution today. All right, everybody, we'll see you on Thursday. Steven, say what you always say.
It's just our opinion, man. Thanks for our contribution today.